What's up, guys? It's your boy TPP, and I'm back with that true crime talk live, baby. Let's go. Y'all, ready for round two? Ready for round two? Y'all ready for round two? Man, before we jump into round two, though, you know what's up. Smash that like, smash that share, put it out there for everybody in live right now and everybody in the replay. And then also, if you're new here, smash that subscribe. Go ahead, join the crew. Join the crew. Yeah, guys, I wasn't sure if I was going to come back, honestly, for round two. And I almost didn't. I was going to do this as a premiere drop. But I figured, hey, why not? Why not come back and just do it live? You know, it gets recorded all the same, either way. But then at least if I come live, I get to see all you beautiful people. You know what I mean? So, topic obviously is Delphi, right? And what we're going to be doing is I wanted to touch on the state's response to all this madness, okay? I wanted to touch on the state's response. And, you know, I was looking at some articles, I was looking at some, interviews, I was looking at, I was searching for something good. And I had actually found this video, and I actually wanted to cover this yesterday, but you guys know what happened yesterday. I had a little, I had to deal with a little drama, right? So we lost one of our streams to some drama. So I lost a chance to do this one right here. But anyways, this is the state's response, and we're gonna listen to Vinny, our guy Vinny, right? He's gonna give his opinions on it. He's gonna break it down. We're gonna watch this because there's a lot more entertaining for me to react to this than just reading articles and stuff. And on top of that as well, the last few days I've been watching a lot of people's content on the Delphi stuff, and it's pretty crazy, right? Because if you're looking at like professional people, defense people are like, oh, this is bad. Prosecution people are like, oh, this is just all fake. This is false. And then all the YouTubers, most of the YouTubers are like, they're for the defense. They're believing hardcore the defense. And I can't tell if that's genuine or if they're just doing it because it's good content. You know what I mean? So anyways, guys, let's jump into it though. I'll get off in the weeds, probably enough in this clip anyways, and I don't want it to be a really long live. I'm not trying to do another 3-hour live, so let's go ahead and get into it and hear what old Vinny has to say about this sitch. Wait up. Let me cue it up, obviously, and let me get some. Wait up. Before I even do that, let me see what's up. Let me see who's in chat. I'm over here forgetting to even see who's in chat. Hindsight's good to see you. Julie Delp, Mom, good to see you. Sassy7, good to see you. Melinda, good to see you. All right. That's who all is in chat. Everybody else in the bushes. All right, let's get rolling. Give me some ones in chat, though. Make sure that you guys can hear this.
It was an unseasonably warm February day in 2017 in the small rural town of Delphi, Indiana. It's not a place where you worry when your teenage kids decide to go on an adventure. So when Abby Williams and her best friend Libby...
Criminal Man, good to see you back. Good to see you back. Thank you, ladies. I'm seeing the ones in chat. We'll go ahead and proceed. And I know some of this information is redundant, but we're going to let it play out. You know what I mean? Stay fresh with it.
German decided to go on a hike near the Monon High Bridge in the middle of the day. No one thought it was dangerous. But when Libby and Abby did not show up when they were supposed to get picked up, their families began to worry, and they began to search.
Bees! We back, Bees. We back in action, round two. I know I was acting like I was going to come back, but the moment I got off our live, I was like, dang, I miss you all. And then I saw this video. I was like, that's what I was going to cover yesterday. But the haters threw me off track, so let's go ahead and cover it so we can get back on track. You know what I mean? Plus, I know every time I go live, there's a hater shedding a tear. So let's harvest some hater tears, baby.
Then the next day, the worst news possible. The bodies of these two girls were found, both victims of murder. Then after 5 frustrating years, this man, Richard Allen, was arrested for killing both girls. This was a case with many suspicious people and many rumors, but none of them ever involved Allen, which surprised many people. Allen says he didn't do it and also alleges that it was a group of Odinites who are responsible. Tonight, we will take a step back and look at the evidence that was used to obtain probable cause to search Allen's home for evidence.
Because this is going to cover a little bit of the questions I've been seeing people ask. And I'm like, have you not You don't remember the case? It was like, I swear, guys, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but the moment the defense dropped all this Odinite stuff, it seems like everybody forgot about all the other details of the case. It's crazy.
Then we'll look at the evidence they seized. Does it point to Allen, or is there more evidence of some Nordic religious white nationalist group who is responsible? We'll break down the evidence as our investigation of the Delphi murders continues. I'm Benny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments.
And before we get any further into this, I'm just going to tell you guys, after listening to tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of Delphi content over the last couple of days, and between research and all the other stuff, you know how I do. I got that true crime ADD. After all that, right? I'm still pretty firm on what I believe. I'm still pretty firm on what I was believing our last live. I'm actually probably even more solid in my belief on it. But I just wanted to say that. Let's go ahead. Also, guys, I haven't even watched this video, so I don't even know what Vinny's got for us. So it'll be a good reaction. Dancing in the woods during the day. Yo, Criminal Man. Like, I swear, man, I love them. I love them. Keep bringing them comments. I love them.
A big hour tonight as we dive into the Delphi murder case. There is still so much information to go through that has just been released last week by the defense. Each night, a different approach that we're taking. Tonight, I want to start with the Constitution of the United States, which protects us all, right, from the government, from unreasonable search and seizure, as well as many other things, right? Protects us from the government. And the reason it's important and it's significant is we don't want police, the government, just knocking on our door or breaking down our doors and looking around for evidence to see if we're up to and doing anything wrong. I mean, that goes completely contrary to the foundation of this country and what it's about, the freedoms that we have.
I like my boy Vinny, though. He be getting flustered like me and losing his words.
And the limitations that the government has. And this is a big part of it, these unreasonable search and seizures. So in order to search your home, there has to be a showing. There has to be some level of evidence, probable cause.
CBs, I felt the same way. I was like, I'm lonely now. I miss all their faces or their, their little screen icons and their witty attitudes. It's like my day's just so boring without you guys.
That convinces a judge to sign a warrant. And that's a hurdle. Now, it's not the highest hurdle in our system of justice by far, but it is a hurdle. And it's there to protect us and to protect innocent people from being targeted by the government and being the intrusion and the violation of the sanctity of our homes. So in this case, the search of Richard Allen's home is a big, big deal. That's because Richard Allen wants evidence excluded. So this is interesting. He wants evidence excluded.
That is worth stopping this video. You are 100% right, Miss Sassy. That is 100% right. Not just show your love for me, show your love for our community, for this channel community that we are growing, this true crime family. That's when you guys are smashing those likes and you're smashing those shares, right? And you're growing it all. They ain't just helping me. You're helping me help you help me. You know what I mean? Like, this is a teamwork thing.
Included, and this is pretty standard in most cases. A defense attorney gets it and says, "All right, what evidence do they have? Did they get it lawfully?" Right? And sometimes it's really significant. The evidence that they get, connects the defendant to the crime and can be used against them in a court of law to convince a jury. So we see it in almost every case that these motions to suppress evidence, to keep evidence out, are done. And generally, it's a move. When I look at, a defendant looking to suppress evidence, it's because the focus is this is a case where there's not enough evidence, right? They want the jury to come back and say not guilty because there's not enough evidence
to connect him, the defendant, to the murder. Now, not guilty is the standard in a trial. You're either guilty or not guilty. There's no mention of innocence other than the presumption that every defendant brings into the courtroom. But the not guilty is not a stamp by the jury saying, we believe you're innocent. It's that because that's not what you're judging. It's that the state, the government, the prosecution did not prove their case, didn't prove the elements of the crime beyond a reasonable doubt. But this case is a little different because of what we've learned in this last week is that the defendant, Richard Allen, isn't just saying you don't have the evidence and I'm not guilty because you can't prove it, right? Maybe I did it, but you can't prove it. He's saying, I didn't do it. It was the Odinites.
Bro, like, just when I thought you couldn't get any crazier with your alibi, right? With Koberger, right? I was like, oh my God, what was he? What? Are you serious driving around at night, bro? You didn't even explain this or that. Like, horrible alibi. This one right here, this alibi right here, this takes the cake of all alibis. Like, I didn't do it. It was the Odinist. I didn't do it. The Odinist did it. And they threatened me in the jail. And they run in the jail. They're everywhere. I don't know what to do. I got to eat some paper. My Lord, yo.
The Odinites or the Odinists, they refer to them both ways, that actually did it, which means they are proclaiming not that you can't prove it. They are proclaiming he is innocent. Someone else did it, and we're telling you who it is. Yet they still want this evidence excluded. Now, that's a defense attorney doing his job. I understand it. And you know, standing up for your client's constitutional rights all makes sense. However, it's different. Like, if somebody else did it, why would this evidence that you're trying to get excluded prove the case against you? Why would it? Something to think about. Something to think about as we
see. This is why I like Vinny, because he brings his experience, lots of experience to the game. And the way that he breaks things down and explains stuff for people that don't have a legal education, it makes it so much easier to understand. At least that's my opinion. I dig the dude. Super passionate too. You could tell the dude's passionate. And I love people with passion for what they do.
We try to process this concept that was just dropped on all of us by the defense in what they filed inside the courtroom, saying, we know exactly who's responsible, this group of Odinists. They name them in their papers. We don't name them on the show, but they name them in the papers that they filed in court. But they're still very concerned about this other evidence that they want tossed, excluded from the case. And I guess they're afraid that that evidence could prove that he did it. But if he's factually innocent and it was the Odinists, I mean, how could that evidence prove that he did it? That's interesting, right?
Yo, criminal man, right? I was on the bridge wearing a blue jacket, but the Odinist did it, which I didn't see, but oh well. Yeah, that's why I came back for the second live, guys. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm here. Comments like that is why I'm here. Uh-oh. Tell them, bees, who didn't hit the like and the share, guys. We got to let them know we're here. We're not going to grow unless we let them know. You know what I mean? See what I did there? Why did they talk to all 5 men in the case 6 years ago? That's a good question too, Melinda. That is a good question too. And just so y'all know, I gave Melinda the CAPS pass, some vision issues, you know what I mean? So this pass on that one.
I think what they're looking at, though, is the key evidence is this gun. There's a bullet found at the scene, and matching that bullet found at the scene that is cycled through the weapon, allegedly, and somehow...
Nettie 423, good to see you, man. Thanks for being here.
Now, the experts will look at that and be able to say, oh, yeah, it was cycled through his gun that we seized from his house. And the defense does not want that evidence in front of the jury. Is that enough to prove him guilty? Maybe, maybe not. I have a feeling that the defense expert is going to say, you can't tie that bullet to the gun through that testing, but there's going to be...
Yeah, it was hard, but I had to break free. No? Can't shake bees. You can't shake bees. And I'm still not convinced it was a ghost. It could have been bees. I don't know. The other night, it could have been bees.
A battle, but they want that gun excluded so the jury doesn't even hear any of that evidence. So that's what's going on. So let's dive into this and let's start. Let's go back to the timeline because I want to take a step back tonight. February 2017. This is key. This is crucial. Richard Allen.
Listen close. We're rehashing the timeline. Listen close. This is like anytime we do these lives like this and we're rehashing old stuff, just make sure you're fresh with it. You know what I mean? I always like refreshers because we cover so much stuff. I feel like it's really important to always stay refreshed on all the details. Don't let them get too old in your mind. It's super important.
The defendant, the man accused of this double murder, calls a tip line to provide law enforcement information about what he saw on the trail that day. That's a big fact. I'm sure the defense is going to make a big deal about it. He's the one who reaches out and calls the tip line. Okay. Also in February 2017, this is.
But he wouldn't be the first weirdo to call a tip line that did some crazy stuff to give him a tip about it. So, you know, and I'll be honest, I think this was more of a sadist killing than a ritual killing, but that's just me.
This is going to be a big name in this case. A Department of Natural Resources officer, Dan Doolin, meets Richard Allen at a grocery store, not sure why it's a grocery store, in Delphi, and prepares his report. Okay? So he calls the tip line, I've got information. Dan Doolin, the resource officer, natural resources officer, meets Richard Allen at the grocery store. Now, let's go to the probable cause affidavit, and this is sort of a summary of what Dan Doolin apparently told the officer who filled out the affidavit. Mr. Allen was on the trail between 13:30 and 15:30. That's 1:30 to 3:30 in the afternoon. He parked at the Old Farm Bureau building and walked to the New Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw 3 females. He noted one was taller and had brown or black hair. He did not remember the description, nor did he speak to them.
You notice too, right, that the only females that he saw that he said that he saw were the females that saw him, right? You guys remember that. That's important. I'm telling you, that's an important detail.
He walked from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge.
And one more thing too. One more thing. I keep seeing people say the time frame. Like he couldn't have did this in that amount of time. Bruh, are you serious? 2 hours he couldn't have did this? What? Supposedly, or Brian Koberger did 4 unalivings in how much time? And you're telling me this man couldn't have pulled this off in 2 hours? Y'all, come on, man. Come on.
He did not see anybody, although he stated he was watching a stock ticker on his phone as he walked. He stated there were vehicles parked at the High Bridge trailhead. However, he did not pay attention to them. He did not take any photos or video. His cell phone did not list an IMEI, but did have the following, and there are 2 numbers. Potential follow-up information. Who were the 3 girls walking in the area of the Freedom Bridge? Okay. So that's from the officer, the narrative from the officer who interviewed Richard Allen at the grocery store. Now, back to the timeline. September 2022, while reviewing evidence in the investigation into the murders of Abby and Libby, investigators discover a 2017 interview between Dan Doolin and Richard Allen. Like, not till September of 2022 do they take a look at this and say, oh, wait a minute. Maybe we should look at this. He was there. He was there. And then October 13th of 2022, Richard Allen gives a voluntary videotaped interview with law enforcement. He states he arrived at the trail around noon and left it around 1:30. Crucial difference here.
Yo, that's a slight difference there, right? That's a little bit of a difference. Little bit of a difference. Yeah, slight difference. I don't know, man. I don't know if Richie Rich is telling the truth over here.
Crucial difference. According to Doolin, in his report, it's between 1:30 and 3:30. Good for the prosecution. When he's interviewed on video, Richard Allen says noon to 1:30, bad for the prosecution. All right, let's bring in our guests, help work our way through all of this. Here with us tonight in Montgomery, Alabama.
I mean, I feel like the fact that there's a discrepancy in what he's saying is just bad for him in general. I don't know, but I could be wrong.
Alabama prosecutors and co-hosts of the Prosecutors Podcast, the award-winning Prosecutors Podcast, Alice LaCour and Brett Talley. Great to see you. I missed you down at CrimeCon. And in Indianapolis, Indiana, hosts of the Murder Sheet Podcast, Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee. Great to see you. All right, Anya and Kevin, let me begin here. Am I getting this right, that we've got a discrepancy now between the time and Officer Doolin is saying,
I'm telling you guys right now, oh Richie Rich, oh Ricky, Tricky Ricky, this boy is a liar. I'm telling you right now, guys, I think he's a liar, and I think he's a sadist. You know, that S sadist? I think that's what he is. I think that's what we're seeing. That's why I'm telling you guys, I have a feeling this whole defense thing is just some BS, but let's keep going.
one time he told me, and then on video, he's saying another time.
Yes, there is a discrepancy there between the times. And that is so important because we also know for a fact what time the girls were kidnapped. They were kidnapped at 2:13 p.m. So if we take Richard Allen at his word, by 2:13, he's not there anymore. He's gone. He's not at the crime scene. But if you take Dan Doolin at his word about what he...
So you notice how his story changes once information came out. I guarantee when he gave his first statement that he gave the time that he probably was there, because he's probably scared they have him on videotape somewhere or somehow know his time frame, right? Because a lot of time law enforcement, when they ask you questions, they already know the answer. So I'm suspecting he changed the time frame because he figured out what time frame law enforcement was looking at, in my opinion.
Reported originally at the crucial time of 2:13 p.m., Richard Allen was still present at the crime scene.
All right, Alice, this makes Dan Doolin, the natural resources officer, perhaps the most important witness in this case.
Well, you know, this is a very interesting thing because we have a report from a resource officer closer in time to when the events occurred. We say this all the time. The prosecution sees this. Whenever you have witnesses, memories fade, and that is completely normal. And so there hasn't been any showing that Officer Doolin misremembered when he wrote the report. If anything, it's possible that...
I know, right? Right, Julie? Miss Julie? Mom? You're right. It's crickets up in here right now. But honestly, I wasn't sure if a lot of people wanted to tune into this Delphi stuff anyways, just because of the fact that, it's saturated right now. It's everything in true crime right now is this stuff. So I really didn't expect a whole lot of people to show up, but I'd rather cover it this way than drop it as a premiere. So that way, the few people that want to jump in and, say a little something, I'm here for it. Let's keep going.
Richard Allen's story has changed. We see this often with witnesses. It's not uncommon for 5 years later for someone's memory to fade, especially when we're talking about a difference of a couple of hours. And you remember, now we're 5 years later, and Richard Allen first spoke to police right after the girls were murdered, and there was no follow-up. 5 years later, when police come knocking on the door, if you had already spoken to the police and now 5 years later, when there's been no developments in a case, the police come knocking again, you may begin to think that you are higher on a suspect list than before. You may have an incentive to change your story, or completely innocuously, you've simply forgotten dates and times after 5 years. So this doesn't definitively show that Officer Doolin's report was faulty, nor does it necessarily put Officer Doolin in the middle of any sort of controversy, though the defense would like you to believe that.
Oh, absolutely. Brett, take a look at this. This is from the defense memorandum, which exploded last week. The single solitary source.
You still with me, Miss Sassy? Thank you.
For this information, and they're talking about why you shouldn't trust Dan Doolin here. Allen being on the trail from 1:30 to 3:30 is Dan Doolin from the Department of Natural Resources. In order to confidently trust that Richard Allen actually said that he was on the trail between 1:30 and 3:30, Dan Doolin's work product would have to be trusted. Doolin was so sloppy in drafting this report that he put Richard Allen's name into the system as Rick Allen Whiteman. And I believe Whiteman is the name of the street that he lives on. Find it attached Exhibit 124, which is a report provided to the defense and discovery from DNR Dan concerning his interview of Richard Allen. In this report, Dan wrote the following: I checked my audio recordings and cannot find one for him. I will keep looking because I am sure I recorded every interaction I had related to my assigned leads. All right, Brett.
Yo, this dude sucks. How you gonna freaking miss on this guy? Oh my Lord. That's a good question. Where's Dan today? I don't know where Dan is. I got some questions for Dan. Dan, what the heck, Dan? You don't know how to fill stuff out right, Dan?
How much of a problem is this if he does?
Yo, that's probably why people probably get ready for that rally. That's why nobody's here, huh?
Didn't find that. He records everything, but this is the one he can't find.
Well, look, it's obviously a problem, and there's a reason the defense wanted to focus on it. They filed a motion to suppress, and instead they gave us their full rundown of what their defense at trial is going to be. And the thing about it is, it's not as if Dan Doolin had some incentive to lie about this. It's not as if he wrote this report and then immediately ran to the police and said, this is the guy. It was so unimportant to him that he finished his report, he filed it away, and he didn't think about it again for 5 years. Is that a problem for his credibility? Yes, but I think the defense is going to have trouble explaining why he would misreport this. And obviously, Richard Allen has every reason in the world 5 years later when he's being investigated by.
Oh, hey, Jeannie Smith. Thank you for being here. Interesting comment. Dan has a history of making stuff up too. I wonder if they'll cover that on this. Where did you hear that at? I'd like to have your information there.
The police and interviewed by the police to change his story, to take himself off that bridge. Richard Allen's own statements put him on the bridge at exactly the time he would need to be there, wearing exactly the clothes that were described by people who saw Bridge Guy.
And, even if he has, a history of making stuff up, it's like, why would he have made it up back then? You know what I mean? Like, I would see if, he was trying to make it fit and he made stuff up, but, he had, really no reason to make it up back then. But definitely sloppy in the way he reported everything or not reported everything, right?
Matching the clothes in the video, this is a huge problem for Richard Allen. It's not surprising that they'll attack Dan Doolin, but I think he's going to do just fine.
So, Anya and Kevin, Dan Doolin, so when does the video come out relative to all of this? Because if I'm an investigator in the case and I've interviewed people, and I interviewed someone who said he was there, and then a video comes out of the killer, according to investigators, I would want to think, did I interview anyone that looked?
Please, thank you for being such an awesome mod. I appreciate you for always being here, always dropping the likes and the shares and whatnot. I appreciate you. I have not been let down, wrenching you up. I appreciate you. Loyalty with bees.
Looks like that.
Yes, and so it's complicated, and I need to check my notes to figure out exact date. But I know an image, a still image from the video, came out, I believe, within days of the murders. So we were all seeing the still image of this person walking on the bridge, and then I believe sometime later it was sort of.
So it's not years. It's not years later. So it's not like 4 years later, there's an image of the killer that is public to everyone, investigators and the public at large. It's like right around the time of all of this. So
that's one thing about the video and the recordings is I need to know what else you guys got. I need to know. It's killing me. They might not have anything else, but that clip right there, how could they not have more than that?
So any investigator who's on the case or anyone who lives in Delphi is going to kind of know what this guy looked like.
Right. I think I will underscore with this investigation, it starts as a missing persons investigation. They're looking for 2 hurt girls. So it brings in all these different law enforcement resources. Everybody's running around. I will be curious to see if there were issues in terms of, case management perspective. So many people working on it, things may be getting lost in the shuffle, which is understandable given how it started, but, may play a role in this situation.
Yeah, I'm concerned about that shuffle. I mean, this is the highest profile case that everyone involved has ever worked on. People around the world were following this and looking for information. And we didn't think that a guy who said he was there deserves, a second look, like in March or in April or 1 year later, Alice, 2 years later. I don't understand. There are podcasters flooding the zone. Dateline, 48 Hours, everyone in the world. Like, you spoke to someone who said he was there. I mean, how many people were there that, Alice, there could have been that many men who said they were actually there that day. This baffles me. It baffles me.
I mean, it's incredibly unfortunate that there wasn't follow-up on it, but I think you've touched on something very important here. This was a...
I hope you feel better, Beast. I hope you feel better. Damn weather.
Devastating case as soon as it happened. It grasped the entire nation, the entire world's attention. And there were jurisdictions upon jurisdictions, the local, the state, the federal jurisdictions, all coming in to try and find these girls and try to bring the perpetrator off the streets. With that, when there are multiple jurisdictions, the reality of red tape is real. There are a lot of papers. There were a lot of leads being followed up on. And note who Officer Doolin is. He's not the FBI.
Bees, speaking of that, why don't you drop your link, Bees? So that way even Replay Gang, you know what I mean? They can come across it for your awesome B videos, you know what I mean?
He's not the lead investigator. He's a resource officer. This isn't even probably typically his duty to be interviewing potential murder suspects or even witnesses to murders. We started this entire segment with the pre-roll of how small Delphi, Indiana is. It's absolutely true. There are communities like this all over the United States that have never seen anything as tragic as this. And it's true that those jurisdictions don't typically have the resources or necessarily the savvy to carry out an investigation with so many different prongs, so many different aspects to it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't happen, that things get lost in the shuffle here. I'm glad that they went back 5 years later when they still hadn't made an arrest to go through all those old notes and someone found this. But
see, that's what cold case detectives do, guys. That's what good cold case detectives do, or anybody coming on a cold case or something that's been non-active. Even though this one wasn't technically a cold case, that's what you're supposed to do when things get stale. When you have no leads and everything is just dead, you're supposed to go back and rehash the information. Make sure you saw everything. You covered everything. You know what I mean? And that's what they did. So had they not did that, we wouldn't even know about Richard Allen. And then had they not investigated Richard Allen, they wouldn't have came across all the other stuff they came across, right? Because they came across some crazy stuff. Yeah. Well, I guess the Keegan Klein too led him to a lot of crazy stuff. But man, just think about it. We wouldn't even know who he is if they didn't go back.
If you remember at the time that this happened in 2017, the hotlines were being flooded. Tips were coming in from left and right. They were coming in from online, from Facebook, from,
I understand, but he was there. He said he was there. And what's the irony of all of this is that this is the foundation of the prosecution's case 5 years later. This is so huge, ladies and gentlemen. He said he was there, yet it wasn't so huge that we didn't think it was like a hot lead 5 years ago. I don't understand that. If it was a local reporter, they'd be jumping up and down saying, like Anya and Kevin, if you knew, when you started your podcast, right? And you knew that someone said that they were there. How many men said that they were there on the trail that day?
I know of at least 2 off the top of my head. It's definitely a big deal, although
It's
honestly,
like you can count them on one hand, I'm sure, right?
it's not a lot.
Brett, and again, prosecutors can only prosecute the case that's handed to.
Interesting. Jeannie Smith, Jesse Snyder case. Dan was investigating that case. I think I'll have to look into that. I'll have to look into that case. I'm not familiar with that case.
Them by investigators, right? Like you rely on them. It's not like on TV. Sometimes the prosecutors are there and they're like investigating the case. That's not really the way it works. Like, how do you explain that to a jury? Ladies and gentlemen, this is why you need, because you have to build up the credibility of this man, at the same time explain why he spoke to one of the 3 or 4 men who said that they were there at the time, and this guy happens to have the same build as the guy on the video. How do you do that? How do you explain the lack of this investigation and build up his credibility to understand all the details?
Okay, guys, this is bad. This is bad. This is a bad part. This is not good. This is definitely not good for prosecution. And this dude is an idiot. All right. So Jeannie Smith, this guy, you're right. This guy's an idiot. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's the type that made stuff up to cover his own butt all the time. Absolutely idiot. You were correct. This dude's oh my Lord. How? Because it's like, okay, maybe he wasn't trained for that type of, investigating people, taking, maybe this is his first time in that situation. But that being said, it's like later on as information's come out, how are you not following the case? How are you not like, oh dang, that looks exactly like the dude that came and gave me the report. Dang guys. Wow. Oh, Lord. Let me see who I got in here. Let me see. Rooster, what's up, my boy? What is up? Let me see. It said after the search warrant was done out. Interesting. Jeannie Smith, thanks for coming in with the information.
At the same time.
I think it's like anything else, and you've done this before, and I think every prosecutor's done it, every attorney. You have to tell a story, and I think that story is basically the one that Alice told. There were a whole lot of people working a whole lot of hours trying to make this happen. Was it a mistake? Absolutely. Was it pernicious? Obviously not.
Yeah, Bees. You should drop your link, Bees, for anybody else that wants to sub up to you.
Not. They were doing the best they could. They made a huge mistake. They wish they hadn't. They wish they could have solved this 5 years ago. But things happen. These were real human beings. And I think you lay out exactly how intense this investigation was, how hard everybody was working, and you help the jury understand how a slip up like this could happen. But I think it's going to be very hard for the defense to say that this is pernicious in some way, or this was intentional, or this is part of some complete police conspiracy.
No, I think it's
pretty
just,
clearly
I just think they're going to attack this officer and say, can you really trust this officer in remembering 1:30 to 3:30 versus noon to 1:30? I think that's what it's going to come down to. But we'll see. Everyone stay where you are. Great panel tonight. Alice LaCour with us, Brett Talley, Anya Kane, Kevin Greeley. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the evidence that was seized as a result of the search, plus coming up next hour.
In Park City, Utah, Corey Richens is accused of lacing her husband's Moscow Mule with a fatal dose of fentanyl. Tonight,
trial coverage weekday mornings at
We'll skip that part. We'll skip that little commercial.
8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Yo, how many of y'all that they catch in these lives appreciate zero commercials? Zero commercials in my lives. We don't deal with commercials, right? Why? Because one, y'all donated to the channel, and two, I'm not cheap enough to not buy freaking YouTube Premium, man. How are you gonna run a YouTube channel, right? How you gonna run a YouTube channel, react to videos, use videos in your coverage, and you're gonna have freaking commercials. You're not gonna have YouTube Premium. That's disrespectful to your subscribers and members. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, guys. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, if anybody hasn't subbed up to B's, definitely sub B's up and push for more B videos because they're dope. I like B videos. I'm a simple man.
That video and the audio as well, crucial. There's more to the video. There's more to the audio. We'll see it at the trial. But that's what was released publicly. We knew very little. We had these sketches that didn't make any sense. But now we're hearing from both sides what they think happened here, and it's something completely different. Let's go back to the state now. This is their objection to the defense's motion to suppress. These are the reasons why they believe the evidence, the search was lawful. The search of Richard Allen's home was lawful. They say investigators believed a firearm was involved in the abduction and murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German because of an unspent .40 caliber round was found between the bodies of Abigail and Liberty.
See, that's one of my hangups is like, that would literally have to have been planted, or I don't know. But then again, too, it's like, I know that science is really shaky, right? The ballistic science on that. It's just hard, guys. This one's really hard. It really is.
Investigators believed a knife was used in the murder of Abigail Williams, that the clothes that Richard Allen described wearing the day he was on the trails matched the description of the man seen on the bridge from the video taken by Libby's phone. That based on this information, investigators prepared a probable cause affidavit with its search warrant for the home of Richard Allen. That makes sense, right? He says he was there, unspent cartridge, he's got guns, he's got knives, he's wearing the same clothes. That should be enough for probable cause. So here's what they seized in part from all of this. A black Sig Sauer P226 40 caliber handgun, 140 caliber S&W cartridge, 140 caliber S&W cartridge from inside the Sig Sauer, 2 magazines containing 40 caliber cartridges, multiple sweatshirts, jackets, hats, gloves, boots, numerous knives,
Yo, Sassy, don't feel bad. Discord's it's a different beast. It is a different beast. And you know, you could thank Rooster for me having one. What's up, brother?
Tools, multiple laptops, hard drives, flash drives, memory cards, cell phones, but it's 5 years later. Cutting of a carpeted area underneath the spare tire of the Ford Focus, swabs of the driver lap belt and the driver's shoulder belt of the Ford Focus. Blood, could be blood there. 2 swabs from the passenger side of the carpeted floorboards. Okay, let's bring back in our guests. Alice LaCour, Brett Taylor from the award-winning podcast, The Prosecutors. Make sure you download it. And from the Murder Sheet podcast, you've already downloaded that, Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee. Okay, Anya and Kevin, anything from this search warrant other than the gun linking to this bullet through their testing, is there anything else from that search that we know that's been released publicly that connects Richard Allen to the scene, to the murder, that could be evidence that we expect would be used against him?
As far as we know, the only information that's been released publicly is that gun that they recovered from Richard Allen's residence, which they ballistically link, they say, to a bullet found at the crime scene. And that bullet is absolutely crucial to their case against him because it is the one piece of physical evidence that puts Richard Allen at the crime scene at the time of the murders.
So, Brett, are you shocked, number one, that we're not talking about DNA? We're talking about a bullet that is not used to kill anyone. It's not discharged, but it sort of cycles through the gun. They say they've got an expert that's going to match it. I've heard mixed reviews from people I've spoken to about how compelling that evidence is. What are your thoughts about that evidence versus expectations of a jury, which is a bloody scene, a horrible scene, yet we've got no DNA?
Yeah, Rooster, it looks like everybody sounds like you making a video for, explaining Discord would. That would help. It would help me, man.
I think one thing I would say is the prosecution's going to have an opportunity to put on a case. We don't know that we have DNA. The prosecution's also.
It won't let you drop which link? My Discord link? I don't know. I've been able to give it to other people, but there you go. See, I'm not even going to answer. I'll leave it alone. You guys ask Rooster. He knows what's going on. I'm just a host here. You guys, I'm just the host.
Under a gag order. And unlike the defense, the prosecution hasn't laid out its entire case in a filing. The defense filing is 135 pages long. They're trying to suppress this gun, and they don't make the argument to suppress it until page 105. And on cite a case until page 135. Prosecution responds with 8 pages. 8 pages of law and facts. They don't lay out anything. They just go directly at the legal question. So I don't think we can say that we don't have DNA. I don't think we can say what the prosecution has. The defense knows.
That's what I'm saying, too. It's like, there's no telling. I mean, they could have found DNA in his car. What about that, guys? What about that? Everybody's speculating all this craziness with defense, right? And just imagine if they have DNA. Like, imagine that. That would be crazy, right? Then everybody that was like, oh my gosh, it has to be the paganist, like, or the Odinist or whatever. Man, there's a lot of people, I don't know, that have went too hard on one side. I know I've been kind of hard on one side, but I just feel like my side's right. I don't know what to tell y'all.
They're starting to see that discovery. And I think it's interesting is they're seeing that discovery. You don't get a full-throated suppression motion. You get a press release that was designed and successfully did so to inflame the passions of the public and social media.
Let me ask you, Alice, if they had DNA from the scene, would part of what they wanted in the search would have been a swab from Richard Allen as well?
Not necessarily, because when you're searching, they can get DNA from multiple places. It's possible they already have a swab from Richard Allen. If they knew that they were going to bring a charging document against Richard Allen when he was arrested, part of the intake process for any defendant is to take a swab. So they may not have wanted to spend that sort of capital in the exactly right that we don't know whether they already had Richard Allen's DNA. And second of all, if they knew where they were going to bring charges and to arrest him, they knew they were going to be able to get him.
Yo, I just thought about something, guys. I just thought about something. So they have that bullet, right? And who's to say there's not DNA on that bullet? When you touch brass, those, like, you can transfer DNA. And because it wasn't shot, right? It wasn't fired. It was ejected. It was manually ejected. Think about that. What if there's DNA on that bullet and they ain't talking about it? I did speculations, my friends, speculations. Let me see what you guys are saying in chat. Okay. All right. Let's keep rolling, guys. But I just an idea though, right? Because it's like they're dead set on him being there. And then the search went right. It seemed like they were obviously not going after DNA. They were going after the firearms, right? Interesting. It's just interesting now that I think about it. There might have been DNA on that. There might have been.
His DNA, no matter what.
So Anya and Kevin, any indication about anything? I mean, you've covered this case so in depth, looked at every single document that's been made public. And we know from the beginning, even from how much information was released in trying to catch a killer, that investigators and now prosecutors have released very little.
Yeah, they're definitely playing things close to the vest. And we would just say that, we're just kind of eager to.
Thank you, Beats, for dropping my link. Appreciate you. How do I copy kind of from my phone, have no shift? Sassy. Usually if you hold down on the word or the link you want to copy on your phone, you hold down on it, it'll pop up these little deals that let you select how much text, or it'll just say all, select all. You highlight it all or select all, and then you hit copy, and that'll let you paste it. So then wherever you want to link it to, like you in that little text box, you hold down, and then it'll pop up, copy, paste, or whatever. You just paste it, and that's how you. I don't know. I think that makes sense. I think I explained that properly. But that's how that works, or that's how it should work.
To see the back and forth between both sides and sort of see how it plays out. A lot of people in this case have been so quick to say, "Oh my gosh, it's over," or the defense is over, the prosecution's over. I mean, we will say we found one case at least where you did have a unspent round become pretty significant ballistic evidence within the case itself, and so not unheard of for that to be somewhat important.
So, Alice down in CrimeCon, right, talking to everybody, and there were two schools, right? There was the one school that said all of this stuff about Odinism, et cetera, is like way, way, way over the top. Then there was another school of thought that was like,
all right, guys, Rooster's saying the Discord works. So, like I said, Rooster's going to be the hands-on man when it comes to Discord. So it's just going to be another place for everybody to meet up. If nobody's live, kick it over to Discord. See who's over there. You know what I mean? Get familiar with it, because it is pretty popping. Once you get familiar with Discord, it gets pretty fun over there. It does. I ain't gonna lie. I just get a little frustrated because I'm still trying to figure out how to work it all. But it's good.
What's going on here? Like, what is going on? What was your take on, and what are your thoughts about all of these allegations, very specific allegations about this so-called Nordic religious white nationalist group that for some reason allegedly murdered two teenage girls who happened to be white?
You see, Criminal Med, when you make statements like that, it literally makes the defense, their whole story, seem so asinine. Like, I love how you state things. It like literally, you have the best humor.
White.
Look, I'm going to tell you, it is a fascinating story. It got all of us reading 135-page document, and it grips you. It is a story that absolutely grips you. If it's true, we're all looking behind ourselves. Are there Odinists in our own backyards?
Hell no, I ain't looking beside myself for Odinists. If this is true, dude, there's corruption, mad corruption popping off, yo. You're talking about like a frame job, a cover up, corruption at every level. I mean, all the way to the top, bro. What you talking about? Look, I ain't scared of no damn Odinist. I'm worried about all the corruption, bro. This is insane. But definitely keep your kids inside, because if it is the Odinist, then they'd be sacrificing little kids. It's insane, man. I don't know, guys. I'm still with the Richard Allen did it.
So the prosecution did exactly what they meant to do, which is to get their story out there, or at least a story to sow confusion or to point in any direction but their own client. And that's what they're supposed to do. And it's, you can't fault them for wanting to put.
I'm so worried that even if it's not, even if this whole Otis thing's not true, I'm so worried that defense did enough with it, that if any of that gets into court, it is going to mess the minds of the jurors up so bad that I think it might have been a very successful defense strategy if it's not true. But that being said as well, it was very successful. And if it's not true, it's very, very horrible. Lacks morals, because just think about it. Like I've said over and over, if this is not true, if defense is telling lies, they made this up, they're putting those families through so much extra pain and torment. It's really unforgivable in my opinion.
Put up a vigorous defense. What I believe the camp of people who had a problem with that really fantastic story was that it came in the wrong vehicle. It came in a Frank's motion hearing document, which is supposed to be about Richard Allen's search warrant, not about the theory of the case by the defense. They absolutely have the opportunity to tell their story, but it comes at a later time before a jury. They wanted to preempt that and start now. Because look, if the first time the rest of us heard about Odinists was at trial, most of us probably would have reacted the way we did on the first page of their motion, which is to laugh and say, what are you talking about? Are they being serious? So they're priming their story for the main stage later on.
All right, stay where you are. Things are going to get a little out of control when we come back, because apparently...
Okay, Rooster. Okay, I'll do that. When we get off this live, I'll mess with it, and I'll get it set up proper. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. Let me see what his Jeannie Smith said. It has some truth in it. One of the investigators said that he will be a witness for defense trial. I know, right? And then it's like everybody's like, oh, the defense has receipts, they have receipts. But it was like part of the receipts are from part of the investigation team that didn't want to go with Richard Allen did it and went and did their own part of investigation. But then the stories they're getting, even with lie detector tests, is like, so it's like second, third hand information. Like, I don't know, man. I just don't know if I can even buy any of that stuff. Regardless, if the detectives believe that they have gold, I don't know if it's necessarily gold or fool's gold, if you get what I'm saying. So that's one of the problems I have with it. Okay, Rooster. Man, thank you, brother. I don't know what I'd do without you, dude. Much love, man.
Prosecutors don't want cameras in the courtroom. And then they listed their reasons, and I read it. What?
Criminal meta, I think that's strategic. I really do. I don't think they're going to give it, I don't know. I feel like if they like try to defend it too much, it makes it almost seem like maybe there's something there. I feel like them ignoring it is just taking some of the power away from it. It's like, okay, the prosecution's they're not even worried about it. Like, is there really anything there? I could be wrong, but that's the vibe I'm getting. I know Jeannie Smith, and that's what I just said I was worried about, is like, even though I don't believe any of it myself, it might just be enough, right or wrong, truth or not, it might just be enough to sway the jury. And that sucks. Because think about it, guys, they have stuff, circumstantial or not, they have evidence on Tricky Ricky there. But they don't have cement evidence against any of these Odinists, or else these Odinists would be behind bars, unless it's a corruption cover-up. And at that point, there's a lot of people that need to be behind bars, and they're in legal positions too. So this can get real interesting in so many different ways. All right, let me fast forward through some of these commercials. Get us lined back up. All right. Here we go, guys. Let's jump back into it.
Lo and behold, the state's response. I couldn't believe it. I was floored. I was shocked. Take a look. The state's response to the defense motion for broadcasting. Broadcasting of pretrial and trial proceedings create the same concerns, if not more, given that an attorney is immune from libel proceedings for statements made in open court. So why is that a reason to keep cameras out of the courtroom? I'm trying to figure that one out. Let's bring back in our guests, Alice LaCour, Brett Talley, Anya Kane, and Kevin Greenlee. Brett, I'm really troubled by, and I know I have a conflict of interest working at Court TV. I get it. But I felt this way before I worked here. I thought our government was open and free, and we should see everything that happens that our government is doing. And my father thought the same thing. He was a federal judge, but they were prohibited by the Supreme Court of allowing cameras in the courtroom. But what does libel have to do with keeping cameras out of the courtroom? Is there anything like that? To me, that's utterly sophomoric and ridiculous. But is there something to it?
Well, I think I would say a couple things. Number one, the courtroom's going to be open. People are going to be there. Reporters are going to be there. They're going to report on it. Lori Vallow case wasn't broadcast. I think it went just fine. I think these prosecutors don't want this turning into O.J. Simpson.
Okay, I'll stop you right there, Brett. I'll stop you right there. What was wrong with Casey Anthony? What happened in Casey Anthony that was wrong? Who didn't get
it? Criminal Med, let me see what you're saying here. Okay, so has this changed anyone's thinking in chat? If you thought RA did it, are you confused now? Only takes one. That's true. That is very true. I mean, that's pretty much why I kind of do the polls when we're doing the before and after the live, right? How I usually ask, what are you guys thinking? Now, what are you guys thinking? Because like literally just one live, right, with us can sway what you think based on the conversations we have. Now you get a professional out there that knows how to spin words and really like put out a narrative. Bro, that easy. Let me see. You know, I agree with you, Bees. In any situation, man, cameras need to be there. Right? Need cameras, not weird pictures. Ah, y'all are funny, man. It's so funny. Let's keep going, guys. Let's keep going.
A fair trial.
Well, I mean, what happened in Casey Anthony, who didn't get a fair trial? Well, the victim didn't get a fair trial in Casey Anthony, and I think that's the concern here. Their victims are going to be in that courtroom. They're two innocent.
So is it the victim or the defendant that doesn't get fair trials?
The defendant will have an open courtroom with the press reporting every single thing that happens. But what won't happen is the defense has already filed one motion that described Richard Allen as being treated like a prisoner of war and used a photograph of him in a workout shirt, and another motion that seeks to reinstate the satanic panic in an attempt to drive the public crazy. There are legitimate reasons for the prosecution to be concerned about what these defense attorneys will do if they get to perform in front.
They don't want the public to hear the defense speak. That's what it sounds like to me. Anya and Kevin, let me read the next one. Managing the broadcast media that is imposed in the court may become distracting, considering the number of media outlets that may request access to the broadcast. Does he know how it works? You put one outfit puts a camera in there, everyone else plugs into our feed. Like, I get it, Indiana, you never had cameras before, but we've been doing it since 1990.
Vinny, man, just slammed Indiana. He's like, boy, you're on the Stone Age right now. Don't you know how this works? I know y'all ain't had camera. Vinny, going hard in the paint right now, my guy. I like it too. I like it.
Not one case has been overturned based upon a camera in a courtroom. I can stack up the not guilties and the guilties. I have spoken to the jurors afterwards. They don't even notice the cameras in the courtroom. They base it on the evidence, and they listen to the judge when the judge gives them instructions on what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do. This next one has me. I told you it was going to get a little hot in here. Allowing cameras. Here we go. It's the circus. Allowing cameras can create a circus atmosphere, both in person and online. Okay, so now the prosecutor wants to control what people could say online.
Dude, what the hell? You know what it is? They all know what's going to happen. We got over here on the YouTube streets is going to get a hold of that. And we are going to pick apart every moment of that trial. And we're going to pick apart all those attorneys, right? And not only of us, non-professional YouTubers are going to do it, but the professional attorneys that are YouTubers are going to do it as well. And that's what they don't want. They don't want their performance. It's not just they don't want it up in front of us. It's more so they don't want to be picked apart by other professionals. That's what it is, dude. They're so scared of YouTube now. Everybody's so scared of it. Like, they're scared to be in front of the camera now. It's hilarious.
I think we have an amendment about that. I think it's the first. Then he says 15-second clips can be taken out of context. What is the context? The context is the trial. You put a camera in there, the public sees the whole trial.
Exactly. What the cameras do is they keep it from being taken out of context. Preach, Vinny. Preach. Because the cameras ain't there, guys. We're getting secondhand, third-hand information, right? From whoever gets the pass to be in there. No. We need cameras 100%. Preach, Vinny.
Court TV has been doing it since 1991. I know I'm preaching to myself here, and I'm not mad at Brett. I'm not mad at Alice. I'm not mad at anyone. I'm just upset when people who work for the people don't want the people to see the work that they're doing, because that's what it is. Anya, you look like you want to say something.
Yo, this is why I like Vinny, man. This is why he's one of my favorites. One of my favorites. Passion, baby. He just let it go. Keep it 100.
I do. I'm pro camera, but I will say this fits into the context of this case in that in the previous instance of this sort of news cycle happening, we had the defense release a very, very dramatic and, colorfully written transport demand for Richard Allen to be moved from prison. And then Nick McClellan put out a kind of a shorter response in a filing. And then he debunked a lot of it. in a hearing where he was basically like, I don't really disagree with the defense, what they're asking for, but I'm going to smack them down based on what they're claiming about the case. So we see this as him essentially doing the same thing, where he's saying, you know, I don't really care that much, because he says so in the filing. He's raising issues. He's not necessarily asking that Judge Gull ban cameras. He's just saying, here would be the issues with it. So this seems very tailored to Judge Gull, who, of course, is a pioneering judge in the state. She was part of the pilot program to allow cameras in, so she might be inclined to do it based on that. But he's basically saying, you know, I think it's him using this as an opportunity to like poke the eyes of the defense and say,
no, he's just trying to lay a little foundation with the judge too, to like make it seem like it's going to be an out of control situation. This is already so high profile, right? They're just trying to do some. They're just trying to work that, you know, that mind magic on them. It ain't gonna work, dude. I think we're gonna get cameras on this one, guys. I really do. I don't think prosecution's gonna get their way. They better not, because think about it, dude. After the defense dropped that, if they don't have cameras in there, it is gonna be a circus. It's gonna be a circus anyway, but it's gonna be like, we're talking Ringling Brothers, you know, the big one, Barnum and Bailey, whatever the big one is now. I don't even know if those exist anymore, but you know what I mean. You guys know what I mean.
Say, you know, you guys are grandstanders and you're being ridiculous. So I kind of see it more in that context, I suppose.
I get it. Alice, do you think they're going to want to control what the defense says at the trial? Like, I don't understand. I've never seen a prosecutor, and I'm a former prosecutor. And, you know, on this show, people say, why do you always take the prosecution's side? Because most people are guilty that get indicted. I mean, the overwhelming majority of them are. That's just the facts, right? People don't like to hear that fact, but that is the fact. Why? What are we afraid of here? Like, the defense can make all these, right? They're going to make arguments in front of the jury. I mean, that's all that matters is what happens in the courtroom. So I don't understand how a camera affects what arguments are made and aren't made in front of the 12 people who will decide what happened here.
Exactly. Because check it out. Those jurors, they're not supposed to be watching what happens, you know, later on. They're not supposed to consume any of it, right? Social media, anything, right? So those cameras being in there and sending us the feed and letting us react to everything and see what's going on, that has nothing to do with what's going on in the courtroom. It's, man. That's a good question, Melinda. Why did the first judge leave the case? That's a good question. I don't know. There was some recusing going on, but I don't know. We'll find that out, I guess, in trial. It's a good question. Thank you, Turtle Gang. Good to see you. Appreciate you being here.
I think those are all great points. And I actually, personally, because I don't live in Indiana, want a camera because I want to see it. But I actually think Anya is onto something. I think this is actually a more tailored filing. I think here the prosecution is actually throwing a bunch of reasons at the judge to consider. Should the judge, and the judge may actually allow cameras in, this is kind of the prosecution's opportunity to say, don't forget all these things. And one thing I'd really like to note, and it comes on the second to last page of, I agree, a long litany of reasons that sometimes made me feel like I had whiplash. What I found really compelling was the fact that there's never been cameras in this courtroom, and they may not know how to control all the aspects of having cameras in the courtroom. Things to consider. This is a very gruesome, tragic murder of young girls. There will be witnesses who may be minors or witnesses who are vulnerable. There's going to be lots of sidebars. This is going to be a very sensitive trial with the type of information that's going to come out. And it takes a lot of, as you know from working on TV, a lot of choreographing to make sure that the cameras are aimed away from certain people at certain times, such as jurors.
Alice, we're out of time. I don't mean to be rude. I'm sorry, but we're out of time for this segment. But I will say this. We've done trials just like this hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. We've got the library since 1991. It's nothing new. It might be new to Indiana, but it's relatively straightforward and simple. We don't show the jurors. If there's a minor, the judge says, all right, turn all the cameras away. Period. It's easy. Sidebars. All microphones are down. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. You got to come back. Award-winning podcasters, Alice Accor, Brett Talley, the prosecutors, Anya Kane, Kevin Greenlee, Murder Sheet Podcast. We'll see you next time.
All right, guys, that is it. Like I said, it wasn't going to be a real long live, but I just wanted to jump up and touch on my opinions on this situation with the state's response. And yes, they didn't respond much. There wasn't really a lot of debunking going on. But to be honest with you guys, like I said, the last 2 days, I've consumed so much Delphi content from every angle, right? From both sides. And I'm still with, it was Richard Allen. I'm still with it, guys. I don't know. I know there's only a couple of you guys in chat, left in chat. But give me a 1 if you guys think it was Richard Allen. Give me a 2 if you think it was Odinite. For anybody that's in here, replay gang, if you made it this far, same thing. Let me know down in the comments. 1 for Richard Allen, 2 for the Odinite. I want to see where everybody's at this far into this craziness. And then let me see chat real quick. Jeannie Ange, thank you so much for dropping those links. I appreciate it so very much. So very, very much. Thank you for being here. Okay. Criminal Med, you're with the 1. 1 is with the 2. Beast is with the 1. Okay. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. We ain't going to do the long outro. You know what I mean? Much love to everybody. Thank you guys so much for the watch hours. Help me out with all that. Thank you for everything, all the support, all the love, all the engagement, everything y'all do for me. I appreciate you all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. It's your boy, the Piscine Predator, a.k.a. TPP, baby. Till next video, I'm out, y'all. Much love. Peace.